because that's just common courtesy. You know, no one's trying to throw you the bill under your nose and just too bad, so sad. That's a fixable thing, but I think we need to really look at this. Because as we go forward, the water project, the town's gonna get bigger, and we have to really start dialing in on what is fair and consistent. And that's just my opinion.
So I will respond to that. Until such time as the ordinances are revised, this office is responsible for implementing them. Okay? And that means that as properties come to light where maybe there is a question about how they should be billed for the public works services versus how they have been, that needs to be looked at in light of the ordinances. So until such time as the ordinance changes, that's where we are. Just as with any law, rule, regulation, those of us who have operated within government, whether it's the city, the county, the school district, business, subject to laws, rules, regulations. Now, as you recall, council has a project in front of it to look at all of the city ordinances. Of all of them, the water ordinance is the one that has, I believe, most recently been reviewed. And that was done a few years ago, I believe, in response to the sewer lagoon project. Thank you, Angie, for that nod. Yes. Confirmation. September of 2020. Yes.
So on that note, it's been that long with this water project, I think it's time to review the water ordinance. I know how it is written, we've discussed that recently. But if that's the case, based off what's going on with the water system and the future of Townsend, it needs to be revisited. That's my opinion. That's a discussion we can have another time, but we can't, there's gonna be situations based off how that ordinance is written right now, that's going to be very, very confrontational. I don't want to say confrontational, conflictive with the business community and the residential community. I believe, that's my opinion. And maybe in our orders review, we should look at that.
So at this point in time, I will reiterate that we have the bond issue for the water system. The debt service, the project itself, future repairs and replacements, reserves, at this point in time are all contingent on a certain revenue stream, a quantity of revenue stream. And while I do not disagree with where you're coming from, relooking at an entire rate structure at this point in time is probably not really what we should do, given the bond covenants.
I agree with that, dealing with this water
Now,
project
the
in the middle
water-
of something.
let me finish. The water rates are subject to review on an annual basis in terms of the coverage, to make sure we cover debt service and all of those other things. That's what the bond covenants is about. I think it is okay to start looking at this and to keep Mr. Reagan's comments in mind here. Any significant change in a rate structure, though, that has an adverse impact on that revenue stream is going to create problems for the city. And by that, everyone who lives here, everyone who uses the services. But certainly, as I said, council has that huge project in front of it. It is up to council to decide which order to look at the various ordinances.
So, Madam Mayor,
Yes.
as some of these places are being discovered that have these additional water hookups, how can the city do better to know that their rates are gonna go triple now instead, because they've got a business, an apartment, and a, you know, whatever else.
So,
How can we do
having
better
learned
there?
from Mr. Reagan's situation, would be, feasible and advisable, I believe, on our part here at City Hall, to reach out to the property owners, saying this is what we're seeing, and this is what our ordinances say about this particular situation, and I'd like to have a face-to-face conversation. Jason, I had a great conversation on the phone, appreciate that. And work at a longer period of notification. Some of the situations that we have in front of us lend themselves to a metering right away. And the meters aren't as expensive as we were thinking they were a couple weeks ago. So, might not be to that multi-thousand-dollar level to get a meter hooked up.
No, that's a great comment, Mayor, because like I said, if we get that information out there, and again, I'll be part of the solution to help get as many business owners together, so we can get a quote to the order 50, we'll get a 20% discount or whatever. I think that'd be the way to go, as far as the meters are concerned.
We're talking a couple $100.
Per meter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That shocked us too.
Okay, well, yeah, so that's great information, so, yeah. And with that said, that's music to my ears, thank you for that.
Sure.
Just to get us back on track to my ask is, I'm not trying to back out of this whatsoever, it's just, there was no notice, I need to have time to adjust, and that's all I'm asking for. And this is a gray area, right? Regulations, ordinances are black and white, and this is a gray area where, and that's where leadership comes through, and that's why we've elected you as our leaders. Is, like Doug's comment, is there's gonna be many more of these situations that are in the gray, and I just ask that we keep that business philosophy in mind as we move forward to protect our businesses and protect our community and keep that circle going.
Mayor, if I may.
Yes.
Chase, are you specifically asking us to waive one hookup fee for 8 months? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, until the lease is up. And if they move out sooner, as soon as I get the new person in, boom, I'll let you write that into the new lease, and that way, good to go. That's what I'm asking.
Council?
I feel the same, Mayor, to be honest. It's surprising to hear that Steve was in that apartment for so many years without anybody realizing it. Not paying water fees, probably not paying sewer fees.
There is an ordinance relative to the business district that requires a storefront of so many feet, and that has been done. So that addresses the issue of the living quarters on street level.
Was he not living in the apartment upstairs?
He was.
Cannot speak to the decisions prior to me.
Would it be possible to do like a 3-month, which would be 90 days of notice to give preparation for that? I don't know how long, I'm not privy to the renter laws, but how much time you have to give your tenant for rate increases.
So that's, with term leases, you're locked in, as a landlord, you're locked in to that lease. The leasees, the people, the tenants in there actually have no rights immediate at that point in time. So basically, I would eat that for that period of time until I could adjust it. Month-to-month leases, you can adjust every month.
Mhm.
That's not what I have.
Yeah.
However, that's
That's an interesting question. Would an acceptable compromise be a waiver of 3 months, which would accommodate the confusion of a reasonable notification?
I'd be up for a compromise, but I think that a fair compromise. So it's 9 months, is from January till I got the raise in PTO, would be 4.5 months would be half that. Instead of 3. So I go, would you go 4?
To be honest, I respect the confusion. Personally, counsel, I think I'd go even with 4 months I could live with, and if somebody wants to come in believing that sets a precedent and try to argue it, that would have to be a pretty creative argument. Because it's difficult to believe that Chase would have somebody could duplicate Chase's story. If it's appropriate, I'd be willing to make a motion to waive the 4 months.
Did you? Are you moving?
Is there any other questions that need to be asked by the council?
Questions or comments from the council?
Then I move that we waive the water fee to Chase Reagan's, the Betsy facility for 4 months.
The entire facility?
No, my apologies. That we waive a single.
You're gonna get a veto from the mayor on that one.
To be honest, I move that we waive a single hookup fee for 4 months on behalf of Chase Reagan.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
It has been moved and seconded to waive a single hookup charge. We're talking the water?
The water's all that's at issue, correct?
No, it's water, sewer, and garbage, they're all billed. It's all one bill.
For
Individual charges.
Yes, the individual there. I'll still pay the normal downstairs. Oh. No. The entire bill
for the
up-
apartment.
For the apartment, yes, ma'am. Yeah.
How much is that?
Approximately $175 a month times 4.
I do apologize, Chase, I thought we were talking just about the water.
Phil, it's the same, I wasn't paying the sewer and the garbage prior to that either. See what I'm saying?
And Steve had no history of paying any of that?
No, none of that. That's what I'm saying. There was only one bill for that entire building. That's the whole crux.
As intimate as it is, I maintain my motion that a single unit's fees be waived for 4 months. Water, sewer, and garbage collection.
Is that second still? It has been moved and seconded to waive 4 months' worth of public works bills for a single apartment that is above the Betsy. Discussion from council. Comments from the public? Yes. State your
Amanda
name for the
Burgess.
record, please.
Amber Burgess with the Fishtail Tavern. I just have a simple question. I know the Fishtail's water bill went up over $300 and we're single use. So does that mean, Chase, with your water bill, is your 369 all of your units combined, or is that, because now with the new rates, the Fishtail is officially paying over $300 a month in water, sewer, and garbage. And mine was $139 before we changed the rates. And that's on record, because I've paid it. So I'm just asking, is yours just for clarification, is that for like the apartment, 300 and some, then the Betsy, the restaurant? I just want clarification on that, that's all I'm asking.
So if you take 367, which is the total, minus the 175, which is what was the addition, that would be the bill for the Betsy building, which is roughly $292.
Why is there a difference?
Yeah.
Is the,
There are, a single family, if you will, charge for garbage is $17.50 or so. Businesses, garbage is picked up multiple times a month, so there is more than a single charge. For example, 3 times.
Right, so if you take the 175, sorry, Nicole, but if you take the 175 from his 327, you said, 367,
369,
that's 190 for business, and she's going to
Yeah, we paid, well, I wish I would've brought it in, I don't have it off the top of my head, but we paid over $340 for water, and we're only one building.
just for water, not the garbage.
Water, sewer, garbage, I'm sorry, for the full utility
Yeah.
bill. I'll clarify that, for the full utility bill, for the city utility bill. And we're only one building, and I don't have any other buildings using water.
Here comes our city clerk.
Yes, thank you.
You actually have, that's 209.33, so you have 1 water, and then, 3 garbage
Okay, right
pickups,
there, yep.
and then the sewer,
So
so
I'm
it's
sorry,
209.33.
all right, so I was 209, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Misresolved,
But-
okay.
Thank you, Amber.
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry about that.
Any other comments from the public? Any other comments from the public? Okay. Is council ready for the vote? I will restate the motion. Waive 4 months of a single unit public works bills on behalf of the of Chase Reagan, the department above the Betsy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
That would be 1, 2, 3, 4 to 1, that motion is carried. We'll now just reiterate that in terms of how water is getting to all of those buildings, we will need to look at that because I believe that making sure each building is either has its own separate curb stop, will just clean up all of this. Will help clean it all up. Where meter might be appropriate, that would be feasible too. And we'll go from there.
Yeah, so
Are we good?
Eric, just reach out, because I can save him some time, and spend some time in the crawl space, so I can show him where it's at.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's also the kitchen too, the Betsy kitchen
Oh,
is
yes,
actually
I
being,
understand,
okay.
that pretty much from Spruce Street through the Betsy building, with 1 curb stop,
Okay.
1 service line.
Mayor, thank you. Council, thank you for leading our city. Much appreciated.
Okay.
And please reach out. I'm happy to help. Like I said, I'll be part of the solution, so.
All right, thank you. Thank you. You're free to stay or free to go.
Thanks, Gary.
Moving right along, the water meter information, which we did touch on, there are, just to let council know, there are 2 different meter models in your packet. One of them is at $210, that would be the master meter. So the first sheet in your packet is the master meter picture. The cost of that is on the back side. So that's 210 and some change, and the other one, which is the, oh my gosh, from Northwest Pipe Fittings at 195.84. Eric informs me that, the 195.84 model or type is the one that the city has been using, and that it can do what the slightly more expensive one is. So we're talking, as I said, around $200 for a meter, and I'm not sure what the installation costs would be. So, but I suspect far less than the 5,000 or 6,000 that we.
Can I ask a question
Yes.
here? Do the ordinances permit the water meter to be installed inside the building?
Yes. You need for separate,
The,
like,
ignoring details for the moment, because I think it might be out of scope to go into it, that, you know, my business, single two-lot building, tearing up the sidewalk along Highway 12 would be dramatic. On the other hand, installing it in the wall inside the building where the water comes through would be trivial. Does the ordinance permit me to install the water meter technically at a point where I have access to the source if I wanted to cheat? I asked the
the
question
meters
because
are very specific.
I'm going to let Eric answer that or respond to that first.
Ironically, I just read it, so, let's see if I can quickly find it again. The new meter has to be permanent, and I believe what it said was, is it has to be, easily accessible, is what it said.
so it almost is preferred inside the building.
I prefer what now?
It's almost preferred to be inside the building.
Yes, because we don't want them to freeze, because that's the other thing it says here is they can't be frozen. But the short answer is like when St. Peter's put theirs in, they simply put a reader on the outside. So I can go by with a little reader, hit it, they got my number, and I'm off. So anyway, that's the short answer to what, and that's one of the newest ones that we got in town and what we did. So, and that's also the reason Tim stayed very consistent with the Neptunes, is because our reader is calibrated for the Neptune, so we can just hit it and we can keep on going, so,
Do we have a curb stop fee for shutting off the water?
yes.
How much is that?
Now, I cannot quite remember, but I believe it's $50.
So if I understand correctly, $215 for the meter, $50 for the curb stop fee, and maybe $150 worth of plumbing fees, and a building is metered.
Correct. And I misunderstood your question, I apologize. The turn-off fee is for in instances where there's, after hours or a late bill. Part of the service that, maybe I'm speaking too much out of turn, and if I am, I'm sorry, Mayor, but part of the service for that water bill and that is if you need your water shut off, as long as it's within business hours, we just go and turn it off. You know, that way the customer can do their work and then just turn it on.
So generally speaking, at an estimate, this is $400 to solve the problem on a business basis.
Depending on what service lines may need to be addressed into each individual building.
Absolutely true.
Once again, what
Analysis
we
has to be
have
done.
here in this situation is several buildings being served by a single curb stop, so,
This was a unique situation,
yes.
but we're combining it with our 3 events so far. We had a multiplex owner who came in saying she had one that was not being occupied, could she be forgiven it completely until occupied? We have a second where it was Townsend Flooring with an apartment that went in, it's a shore apartment for the business, but it could be used if desired as a full apartment. And Chase's where he's concerned that he was surprised by having no previous information that led him to believe he would have a bill. And in all of those cases, it seems like it's actually fairly reasonable to start telling people metering solves this problem, and it's somewhere between $350 and $550, depending on which plumber you hire. Is that story intrinsically wrong?
No, in fact, as you recall, the apartment building owner was suggested that particular property owner wanted to hear.
Mm-hmm.
As you recall, that also was a suggestion made to Townsend Flooring. That property owner
Also didn't
was
wanna hear it.
not interested, and it is entirely possible that the lack of interest had to do with a misconception,
costs.
misperception of the costs. But yes, that is certainly available to property owners, and, I don't know if any of you have seen this, our city ordinances also authorize our public works director to install a meter if we have some reason to believe the amount of water being used is excessive. Certainly, I am disinclined to use that. I'm just saying it is available. Yes, Nick?
If a water meter is installed in a business or house, it's permanent, correct?
That is correct.
It cannot go back.
Nope.
Also, fine.
So-
Sounds fine with Damien, it's $500, but if you don't like it, you're stuck.
If I'm understanding correctly, if you have one line going to one line that feeds 3 residences, you can put meters on them and,
You could only put one meter in for all 3 residences. But it would still only meter the one line going in to
But
that
the
place.
property owner can put what I would describe as a sub-meter in that would measure the amount of water being run through each of the lines to the various units.
But then they have to read it and they have to bill their.
That would be up to the property
Yeah.
owner.
Out of curiosity, why couldn't we tee off the water when it enters, say a duplex, and have 2 meters at the tee, so that each unit is being separately monitored?
I would answer this very, hopefully, simply, we don't have any control past that, we only got control at the curb stop. So I mean, technically, my right's in right at the curb stop where the water's turned on and off, and that's where we should, by rights, the meter should be right there in the ground.
That's under a sidewalk in the case of the
Correct.
business.
Yep.
Ordinance 4.16.050, item number 6. The city requires and will read only 1 meter for a single point of delivery of service for each consumer to whom meter rates apply, except in the case of service provided to a line dedicated solely to fire suppression, which may be metered and read separately. Therefore, a consumer owning a multiple tenant building of any use shall pay for service for the entire building based on said individual meter, provided however a consumer owning such a building may install individual secondary meters to monitor consumption of service for each tenant. In such case, the consumer of said building shall be solely responsible for reading such secondary meters and billing the tenants individually based on said readings. I'm gonna say that might be the clearest one in there.
But does that mean then that a duplex gets charged for a single instance increase in the water bill on behalf of the water project, and the excess water due to metering is all that's going to make up for the fact that there were 2 housing units both being independently built before? Because you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Right, I understand what you're saying. I suspect that some of the reluctance on installing meters is because we all know we use far more water than we think we do.
When it comes to some folks that are watering their lawn, you're absolutely correct. But here we have a case where Chase has a single point of, assuming all the curb stops got fixed, Chase would have a single curb stop source going into the Betsy, serving the Betsy and an apartment above it. Right now, we're technically billing for water, $93 both for the Betsy and for the unit above, would be the ideal. But as soon as we meter, it's just one $93 charge plus whatever surplus in water it is.
It would be, yes, based on that, the size service line, and there's the base rate, which
Fair enough.
covers 9,000 gallons a month.
So the easiest way for a multi-unit person to avoid significant increases in their water rates is to meter, because it immediately dropped since we're going from the multiple units multiplied by the water rate to a single water rate plus usage of water.
Possibly.
That's a big deal.
Can we, one more comment on that? Down the road, this, I can foresee Townsend heading down this road. Bigger towns, not that much bigger than Townsend, where you get into with water metering, budget building. That's the one of the advantages of meters is every individual meter to that, whatever complex, house, business, you have the option, and most cities do this, to say, hey, this is your average, what you use, city water, garbage, all that, and your average for the year is this much money a month. Or you can pay month to month, and it's gonna increase in the summertime, air conditioners on, or whatever. This helps the guy that's not watering his lawn, if he's not using, if you're on budget billing, it's based off that individual location, whether it's a business or a residence. I can see this going down that road, down the road. There's a big advantage to that. It's very fair. That makes it even more fair. You're not paying more than the guy that's watering the heck out of his yard across the street, and I'm living in an apartment, but he's paying the same water rate that I am, and there's no way of water, just because you're a city resident, you're gonna pay the same amount. That's not really fair, when you think about it. No one wants to do that. So budget billing with a meter solves that problem. That's not something that's gonna happen now, but as we get into these conversations and that's just food for thought.
If I could ask, Mayor, would you be willing to perform some research to find out how to answer the question, are we able to meet the bond obligation if we shift to meters?
Can you spell neat, N-E-T-E?
I appreciate the humor, we could use it. But it's, we're advocating a shift to meters